Hello, Gutsy Gals. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm starting a series on how I ended up taking my initial leap to that life I wanted to live. Even though I'm middle-aged, I'm actually 60 now, but I changed everything by leaving the city, moving to the sticks, whole different way of life. And I get asked all the time, where did you find the guts to do that? I wish I could do that. How do I go about that? So I thought, let me talk a little bit about mine and how mine came about and how I think yours might be different, but nonetheless, you should take that leap. As we get older, time's running out. If we want to do these dreams, now's the time to do them. So let's get started, and I'll be talking about how my leap happened. It certainly wasn't on the horizon what I've done. And some of you, I would think, you probably already have your dreams in place. You've been thinking about it for a long time. I, on the other hand, my leap showed up. And I had a choice. Do I jump after it and go do it? Or do I listen to everybody around me? So here's how this happened. My children went off to college. And as any of you know, I was a single mom. I had my children 100% of the time. So they were my entire life. Everything I did for them. I did because I wanted to be with them, or I did for all of us. It was just all about the kids. They were my family, and I enjoyed my family. So when they went off to college, I did the job I was supposed to do. We're all supposed to do the job where we send our children off. But then what? So when my daughter went off, she's my youngest, there was a complete loss of what am I doing in this life? I've been working like crazy, been just trying, keeping ends together, trying to get the kids through college, all of that. And when they moved out, I was left at home in this big house with nobody but myself and my dog. I really felt lost. I did not think I was going to be one of those people that would affect me. I honestly did not even give it that much thought, but it really did. I was in the proverbial dumps. It was a solid year. All I thought is I was just using up air. So if any of you feel like that, there's hope. I definitely pulled out of that. When you don't have a husband, significant other, to kind of, or family around to help pull you out, it can be a pretty lonesome time, and it's a very difficult time. All my friends, family, they all said, you can do all those things you've ever wanted to do. The thing that they didn't understand is everything I ever wanted to do, I did with the two people I enjoyed doing it with. And that were the two kids. So thinking of what am I going to go do on my own? Who would I do anything with? It just really, I was at a loss. There was just nothing coming through for me. All I knew was my whole sense of being had changed. So what I didn't know is things were going to change, and they were going to change in a big way. About a year into this empty nesting, my daughter, who had gone off to college, had a horse that she was working at a ranch where she was volunteering and stuff. She thought she'd wanted to work with horses and be around horses. And so she ended up getting a horse while she was away at college. Well, as we all know, at that age, things change. We go different directions for a little while. And that's what happened with my daughter. She needed to change some direction that she was doing. And unfortunately, it wasn't a good time for her to have Nash, our horse. So there was a decision that was made that we were going to sell the horse. And I know I keep saying the horse, but she had named that horse Nashville, and we called him Nash for short. So I'll refer to him as Nash from here on out because he was amazing. So it was up to me to go and get the horse, bring him down to where I live, which was about 3.5 hours away from where my daughter was at, and see about selling that horse. So I started calling around trying to find places to board him, and everything was booked up. So I was kind of in a very nervous time. Felt very overwhelmed by the responsibility of having to deal with this horse. And luckily, I found somebody who was willing to let me board my horse at their place. And they did some boarding, but not a lot of boarding. And she felt sorry for me. So she took me in, and unfortunately that meant its own set of responsibility, because now I needed to get this horse down from where it was at and to her place. And I had nothing. As a matter of fact, we had no tack, we had no saddles, no horse trailers, none of the things you would need when taking care of and moving a horse. And so she stepped up with her own horse trailer, and off we went. So we drove up, we pick up the horse, who had gotten loose while we were trying to get him. He did not want to load into that horse trailer, which comes important probably in the next video. But we finally catch him, get him loaded, and now we're headed for a 3-hour drive to get him down to where we're going to keep him. So all of that was a lot of excitement, obviously, and we get him, I get him there, and he's getting settled, and he has to be in quarantine, which is what they do whenever you bring a new horse into a facility. So I would go down there and walk that horse like he was a dog. I knew nothing about what I was doing. I even had to figure out how to put the halter on him in order to just walk him around the pasture, because I felt bad that he was kind of locked up. So long story short, okay, we get him down. Now it's about deciding to get him sold. Well, kind of during this time, there was this little voice in the back of my head saying, you know, you like horses. You have nothing going on. This seems to be a fabulous horse. And maybe if I keep the horse long enough, my daughter will be in a place where she can take him back. So those were kind of thoughts going through my mind, and I bounced all of that off of some friends and family. And pretty much all of them told me, what are you thinking? You cannot keep that horse. You know nothing about horses. What are you going to do with a horse? What if you get hurt? You know, that's when I figured out everybody thought I was getting old. What if you fall off? What if you break something? You know nothing about what you're doing. So, there was a part of me that thought, people have been riding and learning to ride horses since the beginning of time that I know of. So what makes me any different? Of course I can learn. And this horse was already fairly well behaved. He only had some minor issues behaviorally, but other than that, he was a pretty solid boy. So what I started asking is, where can I get training? Well, the people that were telling me, what are you thinking? You don't know anything about a horse, you can't keep a horse, and on, then would say, well, if you need to board him at a facility and do training 2 or 3 times a week. And honestly, I didn't really have the funds to be able to pay for that kind of boarding, that kind of training. That just didn't seem to be something that fit into kind of my vision of how this all would look. So after having boarded him for a little while at the first place, it just wasn't the best fit for me, only because I needed to be able to ride more, and they were not comfortable since I was just such a novice. So I decided, I need to buy a horse trailer so that I can take my horse anywhere I need to go to ride him. And so I started looking for a horse trailer. I had never bought a horse trailer, so I ended up finding one. It was fairly small, but I found it. And I was able to then hook it up. I'd never hooked up a horse trailer, figure out how to run that, and then be able to put a horse in the horse trailer. That's a whole nother piece of this puzzle. So long story short, I ended up moving my horse to another facility where they were just building up a new boarding facility. So that seemed like a great place for me to kind of just start getting my feet wet on things. And the girl that was running that there, I'll always be grateful to her. She showed me how to saddle up, and we went riding a few times right out of the gate. No hesitation, off we went. And actually the very first ride we went on was kind of in the evening, and we go out riding, and I'm feeling so good. I got this horse saddled with a borrowed saddle and tacked up, and we're riding, and I'm feeling really good about it until this big thunderstorm come over the top of us. And it let loose lightning and thunder and hail and rain, and the horses were wanting to run back to the barn, and it was all I could do to just hang on to that horse and ride it out to get out of this very dangerous storm. So that was my first real ride on Nash and in a rainstorm, and we survived it. We actually had to hide out in an old barn for a while for it to pass, and it just was surreal. And I thought to myself, I would have never thought I'd be doing this, but I'm kind of loving it. So we keep moving on. I'm learning a little bit about the horse community, very little. When where I was boarding at, they clued me in on things that are called they're like weekend clinics, they call them. So a trainer comes in, a lot of people show up, you can bring your horses, and they run through different types of training to tweak your horse and tweak your riding and things of that nature. So I started kind of looking on Facebook, which I hadn't even been on Facebook that long, and looking for some of these groups in my area. Well, it just so happened I come across one where they were advertising that they were going to do this 3-day clinic, and it was probably an hour and a half from where I was at. And I thought maybe this is the clinic for me. So I call them up and I say, listen, I am so new at this. I mean, I'm so new, I don't really know how to put a bit in my horse's mouth. I don't really know all the things about tack and all of that. So am I too novice for what you're doing? And she guaranteed me, nope, this is the place for you. And I felt really good about it. So I was really excited. I'm going to learn quite a bit. So the day comes a couple weeks later, and I need to load up my horse and drive. So that would be the first real long drive with a horse and a horse trailer, plus my first time of loading that horse into that horse trailer. Well, now that was quite the scene. An hour 20 minutes, all I did is fight that horse. He would raise up and buck and drag me around. And I was just, I was really wanting to go to that training, but I was getting very nervous and scared. This horse is just acting all up. And I don't even know how we got this far, but he comes into the horse trailer. Maybe he was just getting tired of me. And as he's coming in, I fall underneath him in a 2-horse horse trailer, which is, even if you don't have horses, you don't want to be under a horse, and not under a horse loading into a trailer. So I was able to roll into the other side of the trailer. It scared me to death. I couldn't believe I ended up under him in the horse trailer after an hour 20 minutes of fighting with him. It was a lot to take in. So I get it all closed up, get into the truck, and get ready to head out. Well, I'm already going to be late by maybe an hour because it took so long to load him. So as I'm driving, ladies, I'm having my moment. right? All the adrenaline is kicked in. I'm crying, and I am truly thinking to myself, I think everybody's right. I've taken on more than I can handle. This is a lot. Like, I could have gotten hurt, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like, all the things that all my friends and family were telling me then were flooding into my brain after that it was a tough time, but it really did shake me. So I have this long drive. I get us to the training. So we arrive at the training. I pull in, and I was looking like I'd been through it. I'd been crying, my hair's a mess, my clothes are dirty, and I'm frazzled. So the person I talked to about the training, she met me right there at the gate and just said, "It's okay, you're here. And just because you're late, it's no big deal, and we'll help you." I said, "I really need help unloading him. I don't know what I'm doing." The whole works. And then the trainer came up and said, when I told him the same thing, "Oh, I just had this horrible time trying to load him." He said, "I'll have you loading that horse in any trailer on this lot by the end of the day." Now, he is your epitome of the hardened cowboy who's there to train, and I'm this goofy woman who has showed up, who's never had a horse before, and I'm thinking, yeah, right, you haven't seen me. So that's how it all began. This 3 days of training changed my life with my horse. It made everything come together, some confidence, learning how to keep from getting hurt with my horse, how to load him, how to unload him, how to saddle, how to, put a bit in his mouth. I got through all of that in 3 days. I'll tell some more stories about that training. Needless to say, though, it was the thing that turned everything around for me in owning a horse and deciding I'm going to do horses. I'm 55 years old and I'm going to jump into horses. So we get through the training, and at the end of the training, I got most improved rider, which really wasn't a hard stretch. I was also the most inexperienced, the one that had no background. So there was only upwards. I was only able to go up from there, and I did. Thank goodness the training made all the difference, and my horse and I made a bond, and it was really, really, really fantastic. So that's how I started. My empty nest literally hatched a horse, and before I knew it, I was on a new path in my life at middle age without really knowing that I was on that path. And that path has taken me a long way. I'm going to tell more of the story in the next video. I appreciate you watching. If you'll like and subscribe, then you'll know when I drop the next video, which will be talking about one. I peed my pants in the saddle in front of that trainer. Yeah, that's a story. And then how I ended up making the leap. I went, had another barn I went to, and we'll talk about what that was like. And then from there, I made the big move. So I look forward to seeing you in the next videos. Have a great, great day.